Well, it's very nice to see you all. So I've imagined giving this talk on numerous occasions throughout the ordination course. And in none of those imaginings did I allow for the fact that I'd be ill. So I've not eaten any food for nearly 24 hours and I've been in bed all day. So just bear with me because I'm not at my most coherent. And one of the phrases or like kind of teachings that seemed quite alive as we were moving towards the end of the retreat and thinking about going home was that expectations are setting up disappointments in advance. And I didn't have much I'd been thinking about giving this talk, but it was kind of a given that you think that you'll be like, I thought I'd just be like really well and healthy and like full of energy. Just kind of being with that. I really appreciated your talk, Pranyanita, and your use of the Four Gifts poem, which you'd given me a heads up that she was going to do. So I kind of want to start from there and by expressing my gratitude towards Bhante Sangharakshita. Through him, my life is happier and freer and more joyful and just much more meaningful, and just he's given me an opportunity to really live by my values and express my values. So I really appreciate how much he lived his values and the vision that he had to come back to the West and start a new Buddhist order. And our ordination course at Akashavana was the first ordination course there since Bhante died last year, and I felt aware of that during my time there. I'm very aware of him and his presence on the retreat, both kind of energetically and through all the teachings we were receiving as well, which have obviously come through him. And I've heard others say this as well, but when Bhante died, it was like he kind of he expanded, he became accessible to each of us. He kind of entered into that mythical realm, and at Akashavana that realm felt more accessible, like it was very kind of thin, magical place, and so Bhante felt very accessible. And I asked for this particular picture of him to be put on the shrine because that's kind of how he was coming to me. He's got his hand stretched out, and I think it's called the Mythic Psychopomp, the painting. So there's this evocation of this otherworldliness that Bhante offers us, and I love that his hands outstretched. He's kind of saying, "Come." He's like inviting each and every one of us to enter into another world, to kind of go beyond our kind of mundane way of being and look for the light and look for freedom. So, I offer my deepest gratitude to Bhante Sangharakshita. So I'm going to jump from there to my private ordination. And as I kind of walked along towards my private ordination, at some point along the path I turned around and looked back where I was coming from, and I felt this sense of, I could kind of see like Sarah stretched out behind me, and like all the conditions, all the people, like everything that had unfolded that had led me to that point of feeling ready to make this commitment, really ready to give my lives to the three jewels. And it was a kind of a sense of gratitude towards myself and the kind of courage that I'd have to keep stepping forward, and just everyone that had helped me like along that path. And then I turned around and looked ahead of me and really felt the presence of everyone that had made this same commitment that had gone before me, that allowed me to be making that commitment today. So Bhante founded the order, but it took those first 12 people getting ordained to kind of really commit to the unknown. And I think in all these commitments we're making, we are committing to the unknown. We don't know what's going to unfold on the other side. And in this deepening of our going for refuge and Dharma practice and sharing that, we don't know what that's going to bring about, but I'm sure for me, as probably for all of you here, there's just this kind of deep yes around that, and this kind of knowing that's kind of where joy lies. And in stepping into the kuti, where the ordination takes place, that sense of fullness, that sense of lineage of practitioners stretching all the way back to the Buddha just felt really, really alive. It was like Parami and I were sat in this room, but it felt like it was filled with energy and beings. And it was a bit like, if there's any like Doctor Who fans here, like kind of stepping into a TARDIS. Like the place just seemed incredibly expansive. Like space seemed to expand, and time stood still. Yeah, time seemed to stand still, kind of amidst the purity of that communication that took place, and the kind of purity of my faith at that time, and this real deep sense of Shraddha and connectedness and beauty, and just wanting to keep it expanding outwards. And that continued actually in my public ordination, where it seemed like the whole cosmos wanted to get involved. But I'll come back to that. I'll come back to the public ordination. So I was given my name in the private ordination, which is Mokshadhi, the short meaning of which is she who has the wisdom of liberation. So I'm going to try and explain this to you. But at the end of the ordination ceremony, the first words out of my mouth that I said to Parami were, "You just blew my mind." And I feel like my mind has remained blown. Like my kind of rational mind broken in some ways. I don't seem to be able to put things back together in the way that I could before. So I'm going to do my best to explain this wisdom of liberation. And it's been wonderful coming back to London, back to the LBC, because on Dharma nights and these Monday nights, you've been exploring the taste of freedom. So maybe you all know more about it than I do. So it's this freedom and liberation has just felt very live and present within the community that I've come back to, which has been a real boon. Yeah. So the first part of my name, Moksha, that's the freedom, the liberation, release, and Parami and Bante talked about this in two ways in kind of explaining my name to me. And so the first part in that is the freedom to be a true individual, the freedom to not have to follow the ways of the world just because we've been taught them, because that's what other people think we should do. So it's this kind of quality of being able to tread your own path rather than doing what the world dictates or expects. And that also has the connotation of breaking through. So breaking through our limitations, breaking through our habits, and not only doing that for myself, but also helping others break through. So Parami was very clear that there's this quality of setting free, to set free, to kind of help others on the path, help others on the way. And she was also very clear that it's not just the freedom to do whatever I want. So it's this freedom of being a true individual and to help set others free, which kind of connects to moksha and liberation in its more transcendental capacity, in its fullest meaning, which is the liberation from fixed self-view, from our ego clinging, from all the things that like keep us tight and small. And that was one of the wonderful things about being at Akashavana and just having this like space and time to sit with my own mind and just watch my habits, but also watch them loosen. It was kind of like I could feel that knot of myself was expanding and loosening, and also kind of it felt like it moved to the side or something, like this sense of being a bit uncentered in myself and having that groundlessness, but in a way that was not with fear. There's a fearlessness and a groundlessness in that liberation. Yeah. And Bante says in The Taste of Freedom that there's no liberation without insight, which takes me to the second part of my name, which is the D. which means wisdom and vision and intelligence. Yeah, so there's this quality of setting free, and in the vision of that, there's a vision of the non-separateness, of non-duality, of turning that the other way around, just the real beauty of interconnectedness and our connections with one another and with the world and with life. So it's really, trying to see fully the interconnectedness and the beauty in life. So a seeking and a looking on the path, which is this kind of wisdom of liberation, or a vision of freedom. And I think if I think about my name too much, I start getting a bit, it becomes a bit of a koan, because it's like you need wisdom to gain liberation, but you need liberation to gain wisdom, or there's this kind of like interplay of the two, and that I imagine just continuing to unfold as I practice this gift of my name. So I'm very grateful to Parami for giving me such a beautiful name. Yeah. And another gift that Bhante gives us and talks about in the Taste of Freedom. So between my private and public ordination, I went and got the Taste of Freedom, and got him to help me figure out what it all means. But Bante's very clear in that, into how to work against this habit of fixed self-view and our kind of vagueness around that. And he talks about practicing with creativity, commitment, and clarity. So those are three things that I'm really trying to take on. To commit wholeheartedly, to act creatively, and to act decisively and with clarity. And the conditions at Akashavana were just brilliant to kind of do this work on one's mind. And one of the things that I think really helped that unfold was, and one of the things I particularly loved about the retreat, was just the simplicity of the life there. So Punyamala, who led our retreat fantastically, at the beginning she just said to us all, okay, just show up to everything. So we did. So we all just came to everything, came to all the practice, and that created a beautiful sense of community, of a strength of us all kind of getting behind this one ideal and practicing together and connecting and doing that kind of as like one organism, and we'd kind of come out and come back together. But there was this real solidity is not quite the right word, because it kind of fixes it, but a real cohesiveness within the community that kind of, I think, unfolded out of this very simple instruction to just show up. And she gave us that instruction on leaving as well, actually. When we're coming into the order, just keep showing up, just keep practicing, just keep giving yourself to this. And sometimes commitment can seem like a narrow thing. It can seem like you're shutting down options, but there's this really broad opening that came out of making such a strong and wholehearted commitment. I found that the expansiveness of mind and heart could just keep unfolding in Akashavana, just keep unfolding into that blue sky. And in my coming back to my public ordination, I remember sitting there, maybe proceedings had started, and this thought pops into my mind that's like, this is a crazy thing to do. But like I was saying, it was kind of like my rational mind broke, because I think at times when I've had those thoughts before, I'd look to, okay, well, I've got great teachers and friends that I really look up to and admire, and they seem amazing, so okay, if they're doing it, then I can do it. Or I'd have to convince myself of my Shraddha. But it was like none of that was necessary. It was just like I had this thought, this is a mad thing to do, but it just seemed like that was just there was nothing else that I could possibly have done than to join the order. There was no argument left in my mind to come up against it. The thought just literally just drifted by like a cloud and dissipated, and I was just there yes, this is exactly what I want to do with my life, with total clarity and with the whole cosmos on board. So that was pretty great. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a few thank yous, and I feel like it's impossible for me to thank everyone that I want to thank, because so many wonderful friends have helped me on this journey to ordination, to reaching this point of going on such a gorgeous retreat. So I really want to thank Parami, my private preceptor who I've mentioned, for my name and for all her love and support and patience, and for her vision as well, her vision and commitment to the Bodhisattva ideal. And I want to thank my Treyi, who was my public preceptor as well, for all her friendship and kindness and wisdom on the retreat. And in the two of them, in my Treyi and Parami, I can't imagine two more kind of impressive, wonderful, excellent women in whose footsteps I aspire to follow, and I hope that I can serve Bante's vision of the Dharma as fully as they both have in their lives. Yeah. And the LBC is not the first Buddhist centre that I went to. So I got involved in the centre in Cambridge, and it's so delightful that friends have come up from there this evening. It's really nice to see you. So I particularly want to thank Arya Jaya and Amarachandra, who led my Mitra study there. And I want to thank Sangamani, who can't be here tonight because she's doing the phone campaign for the Karana appeal, but she led my first Karana appeal, or my only Karana appeal. But after I did that appeal, that was like the no going back moment. So I really thank her for that, and her continuing friendship since then. I want to thank the 8 women that I did the Dharma Life course with at Adhisthana, who continually remain in my heart, and Dharma Mega, who guided me through that process. That kind of brings me to the LBC, where I want to thank my GFR group, my Mitra study group, Sugati, for leading that, and I particularly want to thank Abhaya Nandi, because I wouldn't be here in London without your friendship and enthusiasm and welcoming me into the team at Lamas. So I thank everyone at Lamas, because it's just the best, most brilliant team that I've ever participated in. And my gorgeous, gorgeous community, Samaya Kula, as well, that I live with here in London. And finally, I hope you're sharing this with me, but I just feel like what we've got happening here at the LBC is such a positive, vibrant, wonderful, joyful sangha and context to explore the Dharma, and I feel kind of constantly in awe of that in some ways, and just immensely grateful to, I guess, each and every one of you that are here tonight and otherwise, that kind of make up the puzzle that is the LBC, that kind of indefinable organism that is the LBC. And I hope that long may it continue to bring people into the Dharma and help us find our own paths to freedom. And so long may we all thrive. Yeah.